Welcome back, project management enthusiast. In our previous video, I hope you had already gone through that. We have dwelled into exciting updates brought by PMBOK version 7, the new upcoming version. If you haven't watched that part 1 yet, I assured you to catch up that. I had shared the link in the description section. In today's session, we are continue our exploration of PMBOK 7 and focusing on some key knowledge area and the concepts that are reshaping the project management landscape. So are you ready? Let's start. So the latest PMBOK 7 version has divided in two parts. Part 1, that is standard for project management, and part 2, that is a guide of PMBOK 7. That in part 1 we had already covered introductions, the system for value delivery and all that things. In a part 2 we are going to discuss this specifically, as you see over here, the project performance domain, trailing model and methods, and many more things. So let's discuss one by one. Part 2. So first chapter, that is introduction, that briefly describe about what are the structure of the PMBOK 7, what are the relationship of your part 1 and part 2 basically, and the chapter 3, that is the change in the PMBOK 7, and the chapter 4, that is your relationship to the PMI standard bus. Now let's discuss the structure first. The structure of this particular chapter, that having very overview of your project performance domain, then section 2, that is your tailoring, and section 4, that is model, methods and artifacts. Now let's dive into the detail and discuss one by one. So first, project performance domain. So in the PMBOK 7, it introduced a groundbreaking shift from knowledge area to the project performance domain, and these domains align with the skills of the project managers need to excel in their roles. We have got 8 project performance domain that is highlighted over here, like team development approach, life cycle, planning, project delivery, and as you see over here, the uncertainty would be the last. So all these 8 project performance domain, we will discuss all this in detail in upcoming session. Today, I just want you to give a very highlight and bird eye view of what are we going to cover. Now the tailoring. So what do you mean by the tailoring? So do you have any idea or any guess? Yes, you guessed it right. It is the same way the tailor cut and fit based on the shape of the client and the size of the client. We apply the tailoring in the same way. The principle remains same or a constant, but we will tailor-made our process based on the requirement. So PMBOK 7 introduced tailoring in deliberated adaptation of the project approaches, the governance and the process to make them more suitable to given environment and work. In upcoming session, we will discuss in detail about what to tailor, how to tailor, tailoring process and diagnostic and the summary. Now let's go to the next slide, that is model, methods and artifacts. So what do you mean by the model? Let's discuss step by step. So model is a description of thinking strategy to explain a process or a framework or a phenomena. A model helps to explain how something works in a real world. In upcoming session, we will discuss in detail about different models. What are the different models we are going to discuss, like situationship model, communication model, motivational model, change model, complexity model, project team development model, and others models like siphon framework, Tuckman ladder, theory of needs, and many more. Let's see that. And methods, what do you mean by the method? A very simple understanding. Method is for achieving an outcome result of the project. So in upcoming session, we will discuss in detail about what are the data gathering, analysis method, estimating method, meeting and events, and other model and methods that focus on how you deliver the project, like probability and impact matrix, lessons learned, workshop, project closeout, story point estimation, net promoter score, wide band Delphi techniques, and many more. There are n numbers of methods that we are going to discuss or get an idea about. And artifacts, what do you mean by the artifacts? Artifacts is a template, document, output, or a project deliverable. In upcoming session, we will discuss and detail it out a different type of artifact, like strategy artifacts, then your logs and register, then plans, risk register, stakeholder engagement, story point, value maps, and many more. That is a number of artifacts that we are producing that we are going to discuss. The next thing, that is the relationship between part 1 and part 2, that how, as you see over here, that as you work in the project performance domain is guided by your principle of the project performance management. What is a principle? Principle is a norms, a truth, or a value. The principle is sit above the project performance domain and providing guidance to activities in each domain. Like if you check over here, PMBOK version 1 to 7, there is a transitional and significant change we are getting in the PMBOK 7. That is a change like focus on delivery or outcomes regardless the approaches, shift from the process based standard to principle based one that we are going to discuss, introduction of the 8 project performance domain, and the very important signification on the tailoring in achieving the project success. So this is all about what we are going to discuss, and the main component what I like personally most about, that is relationship to the PMI Standard Plus. What do you mean by the PMI Standard Plus? That is a platform to offering up-to-date practice aligned with PMI standards, all vetted by your subject matter expert. That way you get a current and emerging practices, PMI's library of standards and the projects, and many more things. It offers a dynamic body of knowledge with real-time access, and it's in-depth information that is aligned with your PMI standards. So for your knowledge, I just wanted to log into my screen, the PMI standard. It's look like this, and you can check what are the approaches, industry, and the format based on the industry. You can take that. So in the conclusion, we had covered in today's session the structure of the PMBOK 7, the relationship between part 1 and part 2, change to the project management body of knowledge, and relationship to the PMI Standard Plus. Thank you for joining us today. Until our next acceleration, keep refining our project management processes and pushing the boundaries of the success.